I think about a lot of things that I went through during World War II. But the most thing that I have done and seen being overseas for 4 years, I'd just like to say that I'm so happy to have served my country and my people. I'm very glad about this. I often think about a lot of things, the hard times and stuff like that that I went through during my 4 years serving overseas. But nevertheless, I was pretty lucky to come home. And I'm very proud to tell you this, that I'm so proud that I have served my country and my people. I'm very happy to let you know about this. I often wonder about a lot of things, that hard times and stuff like that, that I went through during World War II. But being one of the code talkers, I often think about a lot of things that I went through during World War II. But the last thing I could say is I'm so proud that I have served my country and came home alive. I'm very happy to tell you this.
We're happy you came home alive too, Chester.
There were 29 of us Navajo code talkers, originally 29, that volunteered their service during World War II. I don't really know how many of these guys are still alive, but I'm so happy that I came home and to enjoy my life here on the reservation and here in Albuquerque. I'm very proud to tell you this.
Okay.
I often think about a lot of things that I went through during World War II. Some of the places that I almost got shot or got bombed and stuff like that. But I'm so lucky and so proud to say that I am very proud and very happy to come home to my people and to New Mexico. I'd like to tell you this, I'm very happy and very proud to tell you that I'm one of the luckiest code talkers that came home. I'm so proud to be here today with you people. I'm very happy about that. I don't know how many code talkers are left to this day. But I want you all to know that I'm so proud to tell you that I have served my country and the people of the United States. I'm very proud to think about this, and I'm so happy to come home. I'm very glad about this.
Shall we ask them if they have questions? Okay. If there are any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. If anyone didn't hear enough yet, or have questions from the book or whatever.
I have a question.
Yes.
Up here, balcony.
Oh, yeah. Wow, there's a balcony.
Mr. Nez, I know your DI, Mr. John Benali, the late John Benali. How was he instrumental in your life, in the formation of all the about you, what he shared with you.
He wants to know what you remember about John Benally, one of the original 29.
I really don't know what happened to John Benally. The last time I saw that guy was back in 1944.
You worked with him on the code?
Huh?
You worked with John Benally on developing the code?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Oh. You know, yeah, okay. It's hard. I'm not even seeing where people are raising their hands. Okay.
Mr. Benali, Mr. Ness, what was the hardest part about the war?
Say that a little louder.
What was the hardest part?
Of the war?
Yeah.
Okay. What was the most difficult part of the war?
I think, the worst thing that you had to go through during the war was making the landing on the beach. That's where it's really hard to try to be safe and stuff like that. But I was pretty lucky to say that I have made all the beaches, islands that we have invaded. I'm proud to tell you that I was a pretty lucky guy. I'm so proud about that.
Okay, there was someone, yes.
Yeah. Does he still completely remember the code in his head? Does he still remember all the words of the code?
I'll ask him.
What did she ask? I couldn't hear it.
Do you remember all of the code still?
The code we used during World War II, I still remember a lot of the code that we made up during World War II. If I had a chance to go again, I think I'll go again.
Okay. Someone, yes. How did it feel to meet President Bush?
I'm very proud to tell you that I had a chance. Personally, I met President Bush, and he was a very nice guy to talk to.
Okay.
I'm so happy to meet our president.
Okay. Way back there.
My question is to Chester.
Okay.
How did it feel going to boarding school and not being able to speak Navajo, and then them asking you to use that for the war, to win the war?
How did it feel when you were in boarding school? You weren't allowed to speak Navajo, and then you were asked to make a code with Navajo. How did you feel about that?
During my school year in grade school and high school, we were put on restrictions every time we used our own Navajo language. But that's one thing that really surprised me, because that's what we used during World War II. I'm very happy to tell you that we came through 100% with our own native language.
That he didn't teach his kids to speak Navajo. Was that part of what you went through when you were in boarding school? Because I know my parents didn't teach me because of that. But I'm just wondering if that's why his kids
Yeah.
didn't know Navajo.
That's an interesting question. Chester, she wonders, you didn't teach your own kids to speak Navajo. Was that because of the bad experience in boarding school?
I think the boarding schools that I went to, there were very restrictions. They made up these stories about us talking Navajo. And that was one of the most restrictions that they put on the Navajo children during the school year. And I am so proud to tell you that I had the chance to use our own native language during World War II. The language was made up mostly of code that we used against the Japanese. I'm so happy to tell you this.
One thing I want to add is his great-grandson, Emery, whose picture you saw, has a scholarship to the Albuquerque Academy, and he has taken Navajo for 2 summers in summer school. So a lot of the interest in the Code Talkers, I think, is reviving the interest in the kids in learning Navajo, which I personally believe is a great thing. I wish I could learn it, but I'm pathetic. Okay. Yes? Somebody down here?
I have a question.
Oh gosh. All right, one up here. And
I would like to ask Mr. Bass, what were his feelings and thoughts when he had to leave the reservation to San Diego?
okay,
What were his feelings and thoughts?
okay. What were your feelings about leaving the reservation and joining the Marines?
I'll tell you this. I often think about the services, which one I'd like to go to. And they were asking for 28 young Navajos to join the Marine Corps to develop a code in our own native language. So that's the reason why I joined the Marine Corps. There was 29 of us that went during World War II. I'm so happy to tell you that I had a chance to serve my country and my people. I'm very happy about that.
Okay, I know, yes.
How did it feel being told what your mission was?
How did you feel when they told you that your mission was to develop a code?
When we joined the Marine Corps, when we came out of boot camp, they told us to develop a code in our own native language. And we all got set to develop a code that the Japanese tried their best to try to break the code, but they never had a chance to break it. So that's one reason why that we have beat the Japanese at the war, and I'm so happy about that.
Okay, someone, yeah.
I have a question.
Oh, okay, just a sec, the microphone's over there, so just a sec. Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that at all. Oh, okay, I know that. He lost his legs from diabetes, complications with diabetes. It wasn't anything to do with the war, so.
I have another. What prompted, who spearheaded the effort to get the book published? How did that get started?
Oh, well, I guess I can tell you about that because that was actually me. I met Chester and his son Mike through a friend of a friend, and we sat around and talked for a couple hours about his having been a code talker and about his childhood, which I found to be fascinating. So after that day, I talked to both Mike and Chester and said, gee, you know, this story is so fascinating. I don't think it's ever going to let me go. I think someone needs to write a book about this because the rest of the country needs to know what the Navajo men did for their country in the war. And so they agreed to let me tell the story. And after I'd written it, I found an agent, and our agent sold the book idea to Penguin, Penguin's been a marvelous, marvelous publisher. So that's how it happened.
That's very exciting that happened, because that would have been lost otherwise.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
if you hadn't done that.
Yeah, it was very exciting for us that people were so interested in the story. It was great.
I have a question.
Okay?
I didn't do an English paper on how important a Native American language is. And my question is,
What's your opinion about Native American language and how we can keep it going for the younger generation in our society?
Okay. She wonders, how do you feel about the young kids learning their native languages? And do you think there is any special way to keep them learning their native languages?
I think this young generation is to learn how to speak Navajo and try to understand. I'm very happy to tell you this, that we develop a code in our own native language, and that's what we use against the Japanese. I'm so proud and very happy to tell you this. This is one of the most important things that we have ever done to fight the Japanese. I'm so glad to tell you this.
Yes, in the middle with the red cap.
Yes, you mentioned earlier, well, before I got here, there's the main thing I wanted to know about the CodeTalkers. So I watched, as you mentioned earlier, I was so thrilled when they came out with Wind Talkers.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, wow, they're finally going to tell a story. But they didn't get it right. As you mentioned, and the one thing that really I was wondering was what you said there a while ago. You know, they did first, well, this was just Hollywood. They had a personal bodyguard watching them. You know, if they thought they were going to be captured,
Yeah.
it was their job to make sure that the code didn't get, have a chance to be deciphered.
Yeah.
So that was all just Hollywood garbage, right?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't Hollywood garbage. There never was a bodyguard who had to shoot and kill the code talker he was guarding. However, the code talkers did have bodyguards. Once the Marines realized how invaluable they were, how they could send a message that used to take 4 hours to send and receive in 2.5 minutes, and how they were more accurate than the old messages, they were assigned bodyguards. Now, the Marines were asked whether or not the bodyguards were told to shoot and kill their code talker if it looked like they were going to be captured, and the Marines did not either deny it or corroborate that. They wouldn't answer either way. But Chester told me that he thought he would rather be shot by one of his Marine buddies than captured by the Japanese and tortured. So it wasn't just Hollywood, it was pretty true. Yeah.
Hello, I got a question up here.
Okay. Okay.
Right up here.
Oh, hi.
My name is Wade Dixon, and my father, James Dixon, served in the same platoon as Mr. Nez. And I even went out to Washington in 2001 with Mr. Nez, and it was a proud moment when he stood up and saluted the president. Kind of caught Mr. Bush off guard. but it was really an honor to be there. And my father, like I said, also received one of the Congressional Gold Medals. 2 weeks ago, Two weeks ago, we transported that medal out to Washington, D.C. to be put into the National Museum of the Marine Corps.
Wow.
So it's going to be on display out there for 5 years, and then we'll go out and retrieve it. But I'd like to see if Mr. Nez remembers my dad, James Dixon.
Do you remember James Dixon?
Oh,
Yes, that's it. He said yes. Yeah, I guess you got that. Good that you're his son.
Judith, we have a young lady with a question here.
Yes. Hi.
I just wanted to say to him, thank you for fighting in the war and being a hero and fighting for other people. And I just wanted to say thank you.
I'm going to tell him that again. So thank you for fighting for other people and for being a hero. Thank you. Yes, back in the middle.
Yeah, that Chester.
You hear that? Yate. He said yate.
Amen. Sala tantan bala shehar.
Wow, could you hear that? Translate.
I wanted to ask a question.
Yes.
Was he ever mistaken for a Jap?
Yes, he was.
There was a story I read about one of his Marine soldiers got killed because he was mistaken for a Jap.
For being mistaken? I'm sorry.
There was one of his Marine soldiers that he was fighting alongside. They were mistaken for a Jap. He got shot 7 times and he went down. Does he know anything about that?
About a man being shot because he was mistaken for Japanese? Let me ask. Chester, do you know anything about a man being shot because he was mistaken for Japanese?
He was a Navajo.
He was a Navajo man.
I have seen and heard where a man was mistaken for Japanese and they got shot. That's one of the very sad things to see. Somebody in your own tribe to get shot like that. I am very unhappy about those things.
Yeah.
Those things that happen like that. I know a lot of people, they mistook us for Japanese during the fighting areas and stuff like that. But I'm so proud to tell you I was pretty lucky to come through the war that I spent 4 years over there overseas. I'm so happy to tell you that I had a chance to come home to our country. I'm very glad about that.
Harry Sosi, who was one of the original Code Talkers, was shot when he stood up in the middle of the night at his foxhole. And he was shot by a corpsman, a doc, because they thought he was a Japanese banzai. And the banzai would come and attack at night when you were asleep in your foxhole and slit your throat. So when he stood up, which all the Americans knew they weren't supposed to do, he was mistaken for Japanese and shot. Yeah, and Chester was there.
Question.
Yeah. A question?
Sure.
I have a question.
There's a question there in the white shirt. Yeah. 2 questions. Thank you. Oh, okay. Hi.
Yate ala de Chester.
It's your last name. The question is, do you know why the United States Marines allowed this code only 25 years supposed to repeat it after 40 years after the war ended? This is according to my uncle, who was a code talker, Ara Mengalito. He served with you on Peleliu Island. So why was it they revealed it 25 years after the war ended instead of 40 years, according to Ara?
And you know, I'm not sure what the question was. Was your question why the Navy decided to release the code after 23 years instead of, well, it was actually 23 when they did release the code. It was 1945 when the war ended and 1968 when they released the code. But I wasn't sure what you were asking about that. I only got every other word.
Our mic is in a dead zone. He asked if why it was released early instead of the standard 40 years for declassification.
Wow.
Or if you know the answer to that.
I do not know the answer to that, and I don't know if Chester does, but I'll ask. That man said that the code was released after 23 years and that most codes are kept secret for 40 years. Did you? Well, all the other codes were broken, so they weren't really secrets. But do you have any idea why it was different for the Navajo code? I don't know. Okay. Okay.
He'd also like to know if Mr. Nez remembers his uncle Wilito, correct? Wilito? Ara Manuelito on Peleliu Island.
Ira, okay. Do you remember Ira Manuelito on Peleliu?
Who?
Ira Manuelito.
I think I do, yes.
Yes, okay. Okay, someone just got the mic back there, so.
She would like to know who's the first person he told after the code was declassified.
Okay. When the code was not secret anymore, who was the first person you told about it?
When I came home from overseas, they told us not to talk about how we developed the Navajo code. After it was broken and it was wide open, to talk about how we made and developed a code. I was very glad and very happy to tell the story about how the code was made up. And I'm so happy to tell you that this was one code that they tried everything in their power to break the code, but nobody ever did. So I'm so happy about that.
Who was the first person you told?
The first person that I told and talked about it was my own father and my grandmother. After I came home from overseas, a lot of people asked us how we develop a code, but we didn't talk about the code or anything like that or how we developed the code. It was a very secret code. After 25 to almost 50 years, then it was broken and we talked about it and how we developed a code. The code was everything that had to do with our lives and our livestock and stuff like that. I am so happy to tell you about this, and I'm very glad that the code was never broken. I'm so happy about that.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna, out of respect for Mr. Nez here and to be in his 90s, take 2 more questions. And I know some of you guys also brought your book as well for him to sign, and try to save some time for that as well. So we'll go ahead and take 2 more questions.
Yes, sir.
I heard you at the library here in Farmington when you came.
Okay, yes.
And did the Code Talkers get any kind of a break and go on R&R during the war?
Yeah, I know that with Chester's original group they did not, but let me ask Chester that question. Did the Code Talkers ever get to go on R&R during the war and get a break?
The code we developed in our own native language was one of the codes that was the most secret code that we developed. And I don't think there was anybody member of the Code Talkers that told a story about how we developed the code. And it was a very secret code.
Chester, did you ever get to go on R&R with the other Marines during the war?
What's on?
Rest and recreation. Well, that kind of does answer it. They were in such demand that Chester was first with the 1st Marine Division. And when they went to R&R, he was told, you have to move over to the 2nd Marine Division because they're coming in, and this was Guadalcanal. It had not been secured yet. So the Code Talkers stayed and worked with the 2nd Marines, and when they went to R&R, the Code Talkers once again were told, you have to come in and help the 3rd Marines because they're coming into Guadalcanal. So they stayed. They never once got to go to R&R, which is why he doesn't know what it is. Yes, yes. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, that's great. This man down here was the voice in Wind Talkers, and since that wasn't really a question, I'll take your question. Coming back. How did you feel coming back from the war?
I was very happy when I came home. I was very glad to see my relatives and all my friends. I'm so happy I came home alive. And I'm very glad to tell you that I had the chance to serve my country and the people. I'm so glad about that.
On behalf of Mr. Nez, on behalf of all the people here, ladies and gentlemen, all the jarheads that are here, okay? I want to say, Mr. Nez, thank you for your time, and especially your service. And we want to go ahead and conclude and just give Mr. Nez respectfully some time to move over to the book signing and to take some time there as well. And we thank you all for your questions and for your comments as well. And if you'll go ahead and exit, over in the 9000 building is a reception where he'll also do some of the book signing. You're more than welcome to follow along. Thank you.
high school graduation.